Just after 1, so we'll get going with our meeting today. For those who I haven't met, my name is Kahler. I'm the director of the South Dakota Grasslands Initiative. This is our third quarterly partner meeting. Last fall, we had one that was similar format to what we'll be doing today. In January, we had partner meetings around the state where we traveled and met with individuals in regions. Did a lot of the planning that leads into some of the stuff I'll be talking about today. I saw a lot of you at our summit in March, and then today we're resuming with another quarterly partner meeting. Looking at having another one in August or in July or August in a virtual format. And then perhaps this fall, we might be doing some regional in-person meetings again. So just kind of watch for that. At the end of the meeting today, we'll kind of get some input on when we'd like to meet for that July-August date. If you're not able to stay on until the end, feel free to reach out to me to provide some feedback then. With that, we'll get started with our call today. Okay, so the first thing I want to make everyone aware of is the option to join the Grasslands Initiative as a formal partner. At this point, I think I've gone through with most of the people who are on the call what the Grasslands Initiative is. If not, you're welcome to watch a recording. I can get you the link of it from before. One aspect of it is that we have the option to become a formal partner. It's not required. It also doesn't have a financial requirement or a time requirement. But if your organization or association, agency is in support of what the initiative is doing, you're welcome to become a formal partner. And the link is on the top of the agenda. I'll screen share that quick. Okay. Another thing to know about is that we're doing Partners on the Prairie podcast still, where I'm interviewing different partners of the Grasslands Initiative and highlighting what they're doing. They're pretty brief podcasts, about 15 to 25 minutes. If you'd like to be interviewed for one, you can fill out this form here, and then we'll set up a time for that. Right now, there's about 12 on our website. If you go to the resource tab, you can also find them on Spotify, Amazon, and the normal places that you would find your podcast at. So I encourage you to go listen to those, and you can learn about some of the different partners that make up the initiative. Before I go into my presentation, I'm also going to note here our summer newsletter, which is kind of similar to our quarterly partner meetings in that they're a way to hear from other partners and what they're doing. But the nice thing is that with a newsletter, it's digital and there's no limit of how many we can include. So if you have an update to give, whether that's a story of something you've been doing, an opportunity that people can participate in, or just a synopsis of what your group does, about 100 to 300 words is about the range that we're looking for. And you can send me those newsletter submissions by May 17th. And then they'll go in the summer newsletter. The next thing I want to do is quickly go through. In January, I had talked about how we met with individuals around the state and created kind of some key topics of what we saw the Grasslands Initiative being able to fulfill. I presented this also at the summit. So this is kind of the polished off version after getting back some feedback. And we'll chat a little bit about what it means for the initiative next. Give me 1 second to switch my screen sharing around. Can somebody tell me if they can see the screen okay? The PowerPoint screen. I know it's not in presenter mode, but
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So this is, like I said, if you heard it at the summit, it's going to be very similar to what you're hearing today. We did get some good feedback, and thank you to everyone who provided feedback. We got a lot of good thoughts to keep in mind. Generally, we didn't do any substantial changes to the 5 goals. A lot of the feedback was that was in line. And overall, we felt like this aligned with the feedback that we got in January and with what we were hearing from partners. So, like I said, we had those 4 meetings. We had about 80 to 100 different people provide input on them. And this is where we ended up. The first goal is connecting producers and programs for conservation. Within this goal, there's two objectives right now. One is connecting producers and partners, and one is engaging producers in recruiting peers. This is one area that we're starting a work group in. We did choose to use the term work groups instead of committees, but it's the same thing that we've been talking about from the start. But these work groups, there's 3 of them that you can sign up for right now, or choose from one of the 3 to start with. This first one is going to be focusing on how do we help landowners know about these programs, and how do we help them utilize what already exists. So if that's something that you're passionate about, I encourage you to join the group. With all of the groups, the way that it's going to start off is the individuals selected for each of those teams will sit down, look at some of the feedback that we got from those January partner meetings, that we got from the summit that relate to their area, and select what areas they would like to focus on, recognizing that some of the ideas might be beyond what they have capacity for, or maybe that's something that they want to work on more. If you're somebody listening in the room and you say, this is a topic that I'm really interested in, but I don't have the time to commit to it, there's still going to be plenty of ways for you to be engaged. When they start developing opportunities, perhaps they'll put on some event and you can help get the word out about that event in the area. Perhaps you'll be invited to come and present about your program at one of those events. So even if you're not on these committees, there'll still be a lot of ways to support the goals. But we would encourage you, if you have the time, to join one of these work groups.
Okay.
I got this email from Abigail about a volunteer service agreement.
Okay. The next one we have is goal 2. This one is increasing partners' communication, coordination, and collaboration. That goal aligns with what we're doing here today. So the first one is partner to partner communication, coordination, and collaboration. Objective 2 is expanding voices within the Grasslands initiative, especially at those January meetings. We were having all these great brainstorms about other people that we could invite to these meetings. And so that's something that we want to continue to do. So as a partner, please continue to invite others to these meetings. Agronomists, other demographics, anyone who's kind of maybe outside of who's here already, we want to bring into the room. And then objective 3 is providing support to partners who are addressing woody encroachment. So right now, goal 2 are areas that we want to focus on, but they aren't one that we're working on through our work group at this time. So they're just going to be things that myself and the steering committee and all of the partners will continue to provide support in. Goal 3 is increasing awareness and understanding of the grasslands in South Dakota. This goal is actually going to start off as 3 groups. Perhaps down the road, 1 or 2 of them might merge into one group, but at this point, there's enough workload and enough differentiation in what they'll be focusing on that it makes sense to have 3. The first work group that we'll be starting out with is Grasslands Outreach Work Group, and that one's going to be starting in May. So if the things like marketing campaigns or utilizing social media appeals to you, join that committee. So then ways that partners will have the opportunity to support the committee is that if the committee develops some pieces that are unified messaging with maybe a little bit higher quality, professionally developed pieces, you can utilize those. The second objective within here that we'll be developing a work group for is educating the public on grassland conservation. I would expect this work group will probably start this fall. If that's an area that you're really enthusiastic about, watch for that. And the third one is increasing awareness of grassland loss through woody encroachment. So that one we'll also be looking at starting this fall. Goal 4 is using research to support the grasslands. This is another goal that we aren't going to develop a work group for specifically, but that the steering committee, myself, and all partners can continue to support. On calls like this, we would love to highlight research that's happening or that's been done in the state, in our newsletter, emails, like that. And the 5th one is educating decision makers and supporting programs that sustain the grasslands. This team will be starting off looking at how can they support grassland policy by educating the policy makers and decision makers throughout our state, getting the word out to all of our partners about different opportunities that are existing related to policy and programs, and then supporting the programs that are needed in South Dakota. Okay. So if any of these things are interesting to you, the first way you can be involved is apply to serve on one of the work groups. There's a link on the agenda, but the thing to note is that we're asking you to apply by tomorrow. So pretty short deadline, but it's very simple. First page is just some basic information about you. Then it takes you to the second page where you can rank which committees you would like to be on, and give a little bit of explanation on why. The reason that we're going through an application process is just to help us make sure that our committees are developed to be the right size, to be as functional as possible and capable of getting things done. Obviously, if we have 50 people on a committee, it could actually slow progress. But we also want to make sure that those committees are made up of a wide variety of backgrounds, represent different organizations that they're representing, and skills and talents that they bring. So that'll be the first thing. And then the next thing to note is that even if you're not on a committee, there's going to be a lot of ways to continue to support the work that's happening. So stay in the loop of what they're doing. Please help share the word about it, and utilize the pieces that they put together. So any questions on the goals and committees? If not, my email is laura.grass@sdconservation.net. You're always welcome to email me or give me a call if you want to chat about it. So I'll go back to the agenda. That is all I have about the Grasslands Initiative overview. At this point, we're going to move into partner updates. We have some on the agenda that have prepared a little information to share with you today about their topic related to the Grasslands. When they're done, depending on time, we certainly welcome others on the call to also share other information that they think would be beneficial to the group. So with that, we'll get started with Blaine.
All right. Hey, thanks, Laura. Can you hear me?
Sounds good.
Good.
You should be a co-host now, so you can screen share.
All right. Did that work? All right. Can everybody see that?
Yep, we can see
Okay,
your
good.
screen.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Blaine Brakke. I work on the locally led project with the South Dakota Association of Conservation Districts. And I'm going to do a quick run through of a website that we just started a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. We got rolling. And it kind of touches a little bit on what Laura talked about earlier with putting programs and resources in everybody's hands, producers, stakeholders, partners, so on. So I'll just do a quick, hopefully a 5-minute run through of this website. So what you're looking at right now is the homepage, the landing page. We are calling this the Dakota Conservation Network. So we're working on the logo and kind of changing this homepage over to that new logo and the Dakota Conservation Network. So it'll look a little bit different when we get done with that, but everything else will operate the same. So basically what this website is, and I've talked about it in a few different meetings and kind of grabbed some people face to face and showed them around. What this website is kind of your warehouse or locker or whatever you want to call it of conservation resources in South Dakota. So to get started, hello. Oh, hello. All right, to get started, you can either come right down here, right on the home page, and see what you want to find assistance for, any of your natural resources, and then where the county that you're looking for would be kind of your first place to start. Also, there's a, you can go just click on your county to find the resources in your county. So we can go that way. And then we kind of have a few different, another option. If you're looking for something specific, financial specialist planning. And then down here at the bottom, kind of the latest programs that have been added in there. It's kind of a revolving door of the newest things that are uploaded. So I won't go through all that homepage. I'll try to get through this quick. So the two main buttons to pay attention to on this website are the find help and add help buttons. So if you were looking for a resource, you would click the find help button, and then it pops up here in kind of a query or a search form, all of the programs that have been entered in here. And we've slowly, we've started to gain some traction these past couple weeks and have gotten a few loaded. I suppose the beauty of the way we set this website up is that it is partner driven. So if you have a program or resource, and kind of the purpose, half the reason that I'm talking about the website is to, if you have a program or a resource that you would like to add, we are kind of leaving it up to you to add that program. So it takes a little bit of the workload off our team at SDACD of adding all the programs. And I'll go through that here quickly when I get done with this homepage here, this find help page. So you've got your search functions over here, your natural resource categories that you want to run through. If you're looking for something specific, the county that you're in, or the tribal lands that you're looking for. If you're looking for a specific agency, or a specific assistance type, and then you would just click filter, and it would filter out the resources that you're looking for. So that's kind of the basic rundown of that find help page. And a lot of you, hopefully I can see some of your stuff coming in after this meeting from this add help part, where this is where we're looking for help from everybody on this call, or anybody that you might think would be interested in this. This is where you would add your resource into kind of our database here. So you just click add help. Your agency, I've loaded a few agencies in there, organizations. If it is not in there, you would just click add new agency, type in your agency, or your organization, a quick description. If you have a logo, your name, who you are, your email, your contact, your address, what kind of assistance it can be. And it can be more than one. If you hold that control button, it can be more than one assistance or resource, the title of it, and then kind of any other information you can provide. The details, we required it, but it can be as robust or as simple as you would like. If you have a program and it's got a deadline, you would put that deadline there. Information on how to apply, or eligibility, or any other helpful links. Quick note on the helpful links part: if you do go into this page and want to add a link, you cannot just copy and paste from your URL. You'd have to click this little insert link and type it in here. I can go in on the back end if you don't get that part and make it a link, but just a quick helpful hint that if you do put a link in there, to click this little link button, and then you can paste your link in that little box. And then again, if you have any PDFs, maps, pictures, anything like that, you can drop those in the boxes. And here you would select which categories. A lot of programs and resources are more than one category. So again, you can select more than one if you hold control. And then any tags associated with your program. The tags is kind of a work in progress, but if there's something that someone would be searching for specifically, you can put tags in there. If that's soil health, if it's erosion, or whatever it may be, you can add that in the tag. Select if there are certain counties that your resources in, make sure you select the boxes or tribal lands that your resources in, and then just click submit. After that, it comes to me, and I just run through and make sure that everything looks good. And if I have to make any changes just so it looks good on the front side of it. So that's kind of the basic quick rundown of it. It probably looks like a lot to some, but once you go through it, it's really not too bad. And if you go through it and you hit submit and you're not sure if something worked, you can always email me. I'll drop my contact info in the chat. If you have any questions on any of that, I know I've had a few that have submitted stuff and forgot to put things in there, and I can go in on the back end and edit it. Or if you go in and you see and it's missing something, like I can still go in and change it. So I guess before I stop here, I'll just run through like what your resource would look like on the front end. So if we just clicked on this NGRIP program, here is what it looks like on the front end. You've got your title up on the top, your application deadline, how you would apply, your introduction, kind of the details of what the program is, any of your links and resources, contact information all on the left. Who is eligible, and the more you put in there, kind of the more this main body would fill up. And then you've got your PDFs over here on the left, or any other website links would link out to those. So we tried to keep everything simple and kind of to the point, but organized, and put as much information as we can, but keep it organized. So anyway, that's kind of the rundown of the Dakota Conservation Network. We're really excited about the future of this website. It's been quite a few years in the making, but we finally got it all the way through, and it took quite a while to get it built, and kind of built in a way that we think will be partner supported, by folks like you guys that are on this call, and other partners, and easy to use for producers and partners and anybody else looking for resources. So again, that's kind of the quick rundown of this Dakota Conservation Network. I will leave my contact info in the chat, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if you go through the website and have any questions on anything, feel free to reach out. It's a work in progress as we roll along with it. And for sure things come up if they're not working right. We want to make sure to get those things fixed so we can make it as easy to use as we can for partners and producers, both on the front end and back end, and make sure we can make this thing as robust as we can and as helpful for everybody in the state kind of going forward. So thanks, Laura, for letting me run through this website, and appreciate everybody listening to me talk about this pretty monumental project. Work in progress, but we're excited to see where it goes.
Thanks, Blaine. We had a
Yep.
first question in the chat. Is this only for cost share and incentive programs, or would links to educational resources also be welcome?
Yep. Right now, all that's really in there are kind of those cost share programs, but we would like it to be it, and that's only just because no one's really put in kind of the resources, contact information, educational stuff. So absolutely, for sure, we want it to be kind of as all encompassing as we can. If you have a resource like that, please go through that add help part and see how it works for you. Adding those educationals, the way it was kind of built was programs in mind, just so with the web developers, they had a direction to go with it. But absolutely, for sure, if you have educational programs or contacts you'd like to put in there, we absolutely want those in here.
We've had some other good questions come in. What about local or like county specific cost share programs? Do you want to include those on this website?
You bet. Yep. That would be the purpose of the, that when you go to that ad help, if it is just in Aurora County, that's fine. Just click just Aurora County and still go through the rest of the process just the same. So it can be statewide, it can be just one county or multiple counties. So kind of anything and everything. Absolutely.
Another good question was, is the audience for this more geared towards landowners looking for resources or resource professionals looking for partnering or funding opportunities for projects?
That's a good question. We kind of, when we started this, kind of a few years ago, when we started brainstorming this, it was originally kind of producers in mind. But it's definitely kind of morphed, and we view it as a place for everybody. If you're a producer, if you're working in an office, and want a quick way to find what's available. I know there's so much available, and there's always so much new stuff coming out there that it could be for sure used by folks that are consulting or helping out producers. So anybody looking for what's going on or what's available, the audience is kind of pretty open. Producers, partners, stakeholders, anybody in the state of South Dakota really is the audience.
And then Blaine, a question I have is the website at a point now with enough content that you're ready for partners to start promoting the existence of this website? Or are you hoping to get more content put in before that point?
No, I think we're, they kind of walk hand in hand a little bit. We kind of went back and forth on, when is it ready? When should we kind of release and get ready for a big push? But found out that, we're not going to have a robust website until the word starts getting out there. So, absolutely, please, any chance that you get to promote it or it comes up in conversation to bring this website up, that if someone's interested in it and to show it off. I mean, we're just at a page and a half so far of content. And seems like every time that I stop and talk to somebody about the website or am on a meeting, showing it off, like we pick up a few more. So we'll just continue to gain traction, and it'll kind of go hand in hand. The more we talk about it and the existence, in theory, the more it should grow. And it may take months kind of before we're filled up, because there is so much in the state. But that's totally fine. We wanted partners to be the ones putting the information in so that it's accurate in their knowing what they want, for the resource side of it, than me just running around on the internet pulling stuff in and plugging it and playing. So absolutely, we're set up enough to push this thing. And we'll just be making changes kind of on the fly and let this thing evolve on its own.
Thanks, Blaine.
Yep. Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, I'll put my contact info down in the chat. So thanks for letting me on.
All right, next. Pull my other screen here. Next, we have Jeff Zimprich. A lot of you probably heard about the Where Good Things Grow campaign when we were at the Grassland Summit. And after that, I've heard from a lot of people wondering how they can utilize it. So Jeff is on today to address that question.
Great, thanks, Laura. Am I coming through loud and clear?
You are.
Perfect, good. And Laura's doing a great job of getting that website up. So real quick, just a little bit of background. Want to talk with you about where Dakota Grasslands, where good things grow. I want to let you know that it's definitely a big partnership effort. It is a partnership effort that you got to give a shout out to the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service kind of for funding the grant that kind of started this effort to go. This current project is really with the South Dakota Grassland Coalition as the main holder of that grant. But then it built on Where Good Things Grow campaign that had been started before with NRCS and the South Dakota Association of Conservation Districts. But South Dakota Soil Health and many other partners are involved in it as well. We want to get it used, right? So this campaign, this effort is really about educating non-ag producers and ag producers, and both are going to be involved. But what we really want to do is try to drive more and more people to take action. And I think that's kind of the key point that I want to talk to you about. Today, I think I'll probably focus a little bit more on the non-ag side, but that doesn't mean if you've been a partner with the Soil Health Coalition or the Grassland Coalition, and you've been helping get producers to grazing schools, soil health schools, and things like that, that definitely can be a part of this effort. But today, I think we'll focus a little bit more on the non-ag side too, and just share. So we talk about getting people to the website. That's kind of what this campaign's all about, is getting people to the website. So I thought, well, maybe the best thing to do is just show the dang website, because that might be the best way. So Laura's got it up. We're just going to scroll down. I'm going to talk just about a few of the things that she's going to hit along the way. And the first thing she comes to are the public service announcements. I hope you've seen these public service announcements out on the TV stations. If you haven't, bummer, I'm sorry. Hopefully you'll get them to see soon, but they're all here and they're available. If your organization was having a meeting and you felt like one of these PSAs was appropriate to show at the meeting, maybe as a way to bring people back from a break or things like that, they have a lot of good messages in them. Please go ahead and and if you need help from us, let us know, but we'll get these downloaded to you and you can use them. They are copyrighted by the South Dakota Grassland Coalition, so we can give permission for people to use them, and we want them to be used. If we scroll down a little bit further, you'll see that there is a tag to going, in a way, kind of back to South Dakota Healthy Soils and that Where Good Things Grow campaign was. And that, if you click there, it'll take you back to all of those efforts that were underway in that campaign. So again, you'll see PSAs and all of those information that's available. And again, those are available for your use. If we go back to the main page, we go down, the next thing you're going to find is Where Good Things Grow music video. This was kind of an effort done. And this song has been, again, copyrighted and is available for use. So if you had an appropriate event with producers or with the public and you felt like showing this video was something that was a good thing to do and would tell a good story, please do it. We'll keep scrolling down. I'm definitely trying to get through this as quick as we can. You're going to find information about campaigns. You'll see that there's also some radio spots that are coming out. Those are brand new. They're hot off the press. We're just getting an effort underway to get them out to radio stations. Here's a place where your organization could help. Maybe if you've got a good local contact at a radio station, maybe you can help us get them played on that particular radio station. So it's not as easy as it seems just to get people to do those things. You might be able to help us get them out there. The next thing is it's got a little information about the partners involved in that. That's good, but we'll just kind of keep scrolling down for the sake of time. And then the next part is how can you help, right? This whole campaign, Dakota Grasslands, is going to do us no good if people listen to a PSA on TV and do no more. We need them to learn more. We need them to get involved some way. And that's really what this is about now is. So we've got a whole list here of 9 things, and we'll be adding more of things that people actually can do to be involved. So one of them is they can become a member of the South Dakota Grassland Coalition. They can become a member of the South Dakota Soil Health Coalition. They can watch and learn. There's lots of videos. Right now under Watch and Learn, there is 67 videos on there that talk about ranch families in South Dakota. There's videos on here about soil health, and you can learn more about all of those things. There's podcasts on there that you can learn. halfway right in the middle of the screen right now, it's share what you know. That is a link that will actually take you to the ability to request a copy of a children's activity book. We've had to pull it down because of requests and getting those printed, but that's coming up now. You can download, though, a PDF of that children's activity book, and you could use that. You could put that in programming you're doing with school kids. You'll have all of those available, those resources. You can contact us or subscribe. You can get the soil health, healthy soil at home booklet, which is very good for working with ag public on. There's a lot of interest in healthy soils at home, healthy gardening, planting native plants in landscaping, and that's a great one. Request a speaker is a good one. Hopefully, if you're a group, or maybe if you're working with groups and there's an opportunity to get a speaker to speak to them about grasslands or healthy soils, you could request a speaker here. Another way we hope that your organizations could help us is you could say, hey, I can be a speaker. I'm available in these 3 counties. I'm an expert in these areas. Maybe expert's a bad word. I mean, they let me speak on things. I'm no expert. But a key of it is someone who's willing to share their information, and that you could go do that. It would be a valuable thing. I think, again, it's a way to connect with South Dakotans about grasslands and healthy soils and get them involved. The bottom one is attend an event. Here's a place where if you've got an event that really a lot of folks would be interested in, would be very educational, you could place that event here. There was a webinar on here. Soon the Grassland Coalition will be putting up their bird tour. That's scheduled soon. There could be lots of other things here. It's a place for both producers, but also non-ag folks to get involved. If you're on this call and you're a producer, I am lucky enough to live on a small family operation here by Brandon. And what we're doing is bringing a lot of kids out here to the farm. On Wednesday of this week, we have some preschoolers coming. Next week, we've got some 3rd graders coming. We're going to get into Roosevelt High School in just a few weeks. So these are, again, ways that we all could participate together to spread this information about healthy grasslands. So wanted to show you this website. Think about ways to get involved. If you have questions, you can definitely get a hold of me. I can put my contact information as well in the chat, and we'll get together and continue to try to push this. But again, what I'd say is we want you to be involved in this effort. You're a key part of it, and we want you to be able to use this resource to kind of help promote this message to your organization's clientele, your organization's people, and then general public in South Dakota. So look forward to working with you all. Take care. I know that I'm a little over time, Laura, so I'll turn it back to you.
That's all right. We've got a little cushion in the time, and we want to hear about all these updates. So the next one we have is James Hunt with Kateri Carbon is going to chat about how carbon finance grasslands restoration. James,
Thanks so much, Laura.
do you
Can
need
guys
to
hear me all right?
Yep. Do you need to share anything on the screen?
I would be happy to, but it's not strictly necessary.
Okay. I'll make that an option for you. Okay.
All right, wonderful. Let me see here. Okay. Well, good afternoon, good morning, everybody, I suppose. Hope you all are doing well. Really enjoyed meeting some of you at the March get-together. I work with an outfit called Kateri Carbons. We are a carbon project developer that's really focused on enabling precision regenerative grazing, and we do that by helping make strategic investments in operations that are moving from continuous grazing to a more adaptive rotational grazing. And we pay for it by selling carbon credits to some of the biggest companies in the United States, including Shell and Microsoft. So what you see in front of you is a little bit of the pre-work that we often do before inviting folks to join our program. We're very focused on trying to articulate some data components of what's going on in terms of soil carbon as a result of grazing. So broadly speaking, we're looking for folks that are doing continuous grazing, want to move towards a more adaptive type of grazing. And we're in a position to help finance the purchase of animal tracking technology that can come from a variety of vendors, but we like to try to put together animal location data and soil carbon outcomes so that we can work together to monetize and sell those soil carbon outcomes to these buyers that I mentioned. So I just want to run through this very quickly to take a look at some of the precursors. This is a anonymized ranch up in North Dakota, but often we bring folks in and we're looking at, things like elevation. Obviously, temperature and precipitation have a lot to do with how much soil carbon might manifest. We're looking at total grass coverage. So satellites are able to help us analyze and infer what's going on at the ground level. And then the core of our program is trying to increase soil organic carbon on properties. And we'll take a look at the raw biomass production, net primary productivity. And then we can usually estimate what the potential net primary productivity improvement would be as a result of changing grazing practices. And where this syncs up and looks like there's an opportunity to gain some soil carbon, we can often come in and make strategic investments, hiring folks that know much more about ranch planning than us to develop a managed grazing plan, and then hooking people up with animal tracking technology, water infrastructure, potentially even other, physical investments, fencing, that type of thing, whatever we think will help us get to that carbon yield together. And there's some other factors that play into what the soil carbon outcomes might be, things like, how much sand is in the soil, rocky contents of the soil, not as much of an issue in the Dakotas, more further west. And then, of course, the weather, which plays an enormous role in how much soil carbon might manifest. But essentially what we're trying to do is line up producers, financing, and future carbon payments so that we end up with this optimized grazing opportunity that is helping keep the ground covered, helping maximize nutrient cycling and productivity, and allowing us to come in and measure and then sell soil carbon to help pay for the whole shebang. So we're up and operating really nationwide, but very excited about working in the Dakotas and South Dakota in particular, because it's just a really great grassland restoration opportunity that we think carbon can help pay for. So I'll stop there. Thank you all so much for the time.
That was a great summary to get us thinking on the topic. A question that came in: are there any opportunities for those that already have an adaptive grazing system in place?
Yes. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a cutoff for folks that have been doing many years of really good adaptive grazing. If, for instance, you wanted to enroll in a carbon program and you'd been grazing a flood irrigated valley for a number of years, you might already have kind of maxed out the soil carbon gains. There's no doubt that you can continue to stack additional SOC, but the incremental change might be a little bit tough to help pay for if you're already well down that road. But if you're 2 or 3 years into these practices, you're in the window of opportunity for carbon credits still. And I'd highly encourage folks that are getting into it or have recently gotten into it to talk to folks like me or other carbon project developers out there, because it is one of those time sensitive opportunities. And really the market is designed to help pay for the transition away from continuous grazing to more rotational grazing. So unfortunately, there is less opportunity for folks that have already done that really great work. And I feel that that's unfair, but we have to meet the market, where it's at today. And I actively encourage folks to, lobby at the state and federal level to try to make it a more, pay for yield type situation. But unfortunately, right now it's more tied to that direct practice change with a 2 to 3 year look back.
Thanks for addressing that. Any other questions? And if not, can you put your contact information in the chat? So if anyone
Will
wants to
do.
follow up. Thank you. Alrighty, then we'll move into our next one with Cody Zilverberg, sharing about Dakota Lakes Research Farm.
All right, thank you, Laura. The Dakota Lakes Research Farm is located near Pierre, South Dakota. It's owned by, it's a not-for-profit corporation. Owners are, well, anyone who wants to buy a membership for $100. It's a lifetime membership. And so we've got a board of directors that are producers in central South Dakota. And Dakota Lakes Research Farm is mostly famous for its work on no-till agriculture and diversifying crop rotations, but we do have some pasture land too and some other grassland. As you can see on the notes that I set here, we lease around 130 acres of grassland. We own about 250 acres of grassland, including about half of that we just purchased last fall. And we are doing some experiments. I mean, we're a research farm, right? Research is what we do. And so we have some experiments, some rehabilitation type experiments with pastures that were degraded by invasive species, invasive cool season grasses. We're using targeted grazing and herbicides and reseeding to try to see what we can do to bring back some of the native species. And we do a lot of tours at Dakota Lakes. And so if you have a group or even individuals, you know, we'll do tours for people when they contact us. We've produced some YouTube videos. We have some resources also on our website. And, you know, most of the people who work at Dakota Lakes Research Farm are SDSU employees because the corporation has an agreement with SDSU. I am not an employee of SDSU. I am a contractor for the corporation, and the money to pay me currently is coming from the NRCS. And so, and I'm interested if you out there have ideas about research projects you think would be valuable for us to do, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. We do have pretty limited resources in getting that work done, mostly me in terms of collecting data. And so, yeah, there are some limits there, but I would love to hear ideas if you have them. And thank you, Laura, for giving us the chance to tell you guys about what we're doing here.
Thank you very much for jumping on. Any questions or any comments that anyone wants to share with other partners about their experience with Dakota Lakes? But so Cody, when we had chatted, you had recently acquired some new land that you were leasing, and you're kind of thinking about different ways to do some research there. So you're really open to ideas right now, correct?
Yes, we are open to ideas, and I'm talking with some other folks at SDSU to see about, you know, if there are projects they would like to do, and so maybe I'll get some help there.
I guess, if there's no questions or comments, I guess, Cody, if you can throw your contact information in the chat box so people can follow up with you.
Sure.
And then we'll move on to the other Zilverberg. Luke is a new role with Game Fish and Parks, so he's just going to share a little bit about that.
Thanks, Laura. I'm Luke Zilverberg. It's pretty fun to follow another Zilverberg in the same meeting. He is the true ecologist of the two of us. And whenever I'm asked if I'm related to the Zilverbergs in Holabird, he is from Holabird and I'm from Minnesota. So we are related, but he is the one from Holabird that everyone asks if I'm related to. So it's a pleasure to follow him. But if you recognize me, I was the private lands biologist in Brookings for the last 2 years. And then Game Fish and Parks created a new position, this grassland ecologist position. So that's kind of taking the old botanist position that was here for many years, and it's morphed into this new grassland ecologist position. So the job is kind of open as far as what responsibilities are, but one of the main things we want to focus on is monitoring, long-term monitoring on our public lands and some of these private lands programs that get initiated, and following up with these private landowners to do some monitoring on their property. And some of the other stuff, I'll still maintain the botanist portion of the old position. But one of the things I'll try and initiate this summer, and we'll hopefully do an East River and a West River class, would be in-depth seed mix design class. So digging in depth on actual scenarios, using the NRCS calculator and land in South Dakota, and developing in-depth seed mixes. So I'm hoping to get that rolled out this summer, and so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I just wanted to give an introduction to this position, and I'm here as a resource in South Dakota as for Game Fish and Parks as this grassland ecologist. So please feel free to reach out anytime you guys have questions, or maybe I could be of useful. So that's really all I have, just a quick intro. And thanks, Laura, for letting me speak, and I'll throw my contact information in the chat as well.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Next, we have Kaylee Wheeler. She's collaborating with a few partners on a really interesting research project.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kaylee. I'm a new range field specialist with SDSU Extension at the Pierre Regional Center. And I'm super excited to be a part of the Grasslands initiative and support your guys' goals with my work. So as Laura said today, she wanted me to discuss an upcoming project that I'm working on. Several of you on the call may already know what this is or have been involved in the planning process. But for those of you that don't know, SDSU Extension is partnering with the South Dakota Grassland Coalition and many other agency partners, including the Xerces Society, NRCS, TNC, GFP, Audubon, and others. And the object of the project is to investigate the nutritional value and mineral content of various native forb species across the state. So this summer, we're planning to sample about 20 key native species across the state, and we'll submit all of those samples for nutritional analysis of protein, energy, and minerals. Kind of the background or the justification for this project is generally to gain a better understanding of the value that plant diversity has for livestock producers. When most people think about rangelands, they don't really think about the rich diversity that's out there. Obviously, aside from people in groups like this, most people just see the grass. And when they see plants that aren't grass in their pastures, the knee-jerk reaction is to spray those plants out there because they could be noxious weeds or poisonous plants. And obviously, this is true for some of those plants out there, like leafy spurge and stuff like that. But as you all know, it's really important to protect our native wildflowers and forbs. And even just aside from spraying, grazing strategies can also negatively impact plant diversity. If you think about some of those pastures that you've seen that are just, monocultures of invasive grass and stuff like that. So we already know that plant diversity is really important for pollinators, wildlife habitat, and soil health. And we know that cattle will eat some amount of these plants. And for sheep and goats, they're going to eat even a higher amount of them. I think studies have shown that non-grass plants will make up about 25% or more of a grazing cow's diet. And we just don't know much about what nutrition is coming from those plants. So are certain ones higher in protein or certain minerals? For example, if we know certain plants are high in selenium, that can help us manage selenium toxicity risks. Or if we know certain plants are high in crude protein and very palatable, maybe we don't need to provide a supplementation for a few weeks in the summer, things like that can help us with management and grazing strategies. So this project is really an expansion on efforts that have already been done. The Xerces Society has already been working on this for, I believe, a couple years now, and North Dakota State University with Kevin Sedovic did a project last year similar. So if anybody was at the Soil Health Coalition annual conference, Kevin Sedovic did a really nice presentation on the data they collected and actually showed like the different mineral levels of various plants. And I believe there's a YouTube video that I'll throw a link of that into the chat so that people, if they're interested, they can go watch that and just learn more about some of the details with that. But generally, direct benefits of this work include an improved understanding of grazing nutrition, custom mineral mixes for livestock, as well as general outreach to land managers and producers regarding retention of diverse species and forbs on their pastures, not only to reduce spraying of our good plants, but we want to provide information about proper grazing management to help maintain those diversities. So yeah, all this information is going to be used in educational materials through all of our partners that I mentioned earlier, and also going to help pave the way for some of our future university research to help learn more about just general livestock grazing behavior and more in-depth interactions with animals, plants, soils, and minerals. So shout out to the crew that's already been doing this and that has helped with the planning process along the way. You guys all know who you are. I'm really excited to be working on this project and bringing it to South Dakota. Looks like Cindy just threw the link to Kevin's presentation in the chat, so definitely go check that out. And hopefully at our next quarterly meeting, or sometime this fall, I'll be able to report back to you guys with some initial data. And if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Kaylee, for doing the study, is there anything that you want to ask of the partners to help out with the data gathering and whatnot? Or do you have a team kind of handling that, or do you need anything there?
We're still kind of working on our plans for this summer, and that kind of our partners are involved with that, the planning process. So I'll keep you guys updated, but I think I'm excited to see where this goes this summer.
And
Thanks so
then-
much for that, Kaylee. I'm just going to chime in. I'm Ray Powers. I'm with the Xerces Society. And I just wanted to add, so Xerces and NDSU have been doing this since 2021, collecting data in South Dakota, North Dakota, and 8 other Great Plains states. And we'll have some regional flip guides available this summer that'll have some of that information about 18 species, including, photos of the forbs, their crude protein, TDN levels, and then any key mineral components from the data that we've collected. And we're hoping to get a peer-reviewed published paper out of that. That includes the entire. We have about 1,000 samples already from across the Great Plains, and that should be out by the end of the year. So in addition to this great data set that we'll get, more intense data set out of South Dakota with Kaylee and the Grassland Coalition, we're hoping to have some of that out on the ground already this year.
Thanks, Ray. All right. Any questions for Kaylee or Ray? Okay, then we'll move into Alisha is going to be talking about the climate beneficial fiber project that she's working on.
All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen here.
Yep.
So just to start out, my name is Alisha Horak, and I am with the National Center for Appropriate Technology. They are a sustainability organization based out of Butte, Montana, but I am the sole person that will be spearheading this project for South Dakota. So this project is called our Climate Beneficial Fiber Project. So we're looking at building new, accessible, and equitable market opportunities for climate smart cotton and wool. We have our 6 other partners listed here, which is Fibershed, the Carbon Cycle Institute, Seed to Shirt, New York Textile Lab, and Colorado State. Just some little background on this is that through our partnerships, we were funded with the USDA Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities grant, of which we received $30 million. And we are intending to put $17.5 million of that towards producers in the form of technical assistance through cost share of installing different practices and stipends to those fiber growers. So we're hoping to build a kind of a soil to skin regional textile system in 4 different regions, which is California, New York, the Southeast, and then the Northern Great Plains, which is going to be South Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. So our staff for the Northern Great Plains region, we plan to provide that cost share to wool growers for technical assistance as long as they're implementing climate beneficial practices. We're aiming to work with approximately 53 ranches to develop these holistic carbon farm plans and put together a peer-to-peer network for wool growers, as well as put on some workshops, webinars, and presentations. And in the background, our partner Fibershed is going to try to develop a premium market for climate beneficial verified wool. So essentially, if producers are raising wool, regeneratively, sustainably, they will then get a premium for their wool, because the wool markets not very good right now. So they're trying to develop that and find buyers as well for this. And when we're referring to our carbon farming practices or climate beneficial practices, it's the same as the NRCS climate smart activities. They have a list out there that you can just Google, but then kind of the things that everyone's been working on, the cover crops, no-till, prescribed grazing, you know, there's just a whole swath of them. So we're going to try and help producers implement those practices and receive their cost share in return. So our target audience for this project in particular is fine wool growers with, you know, 19 to 22 microns. So we're thinking just kind of the breeds of Merino, Targhee, Rambouillet sheep, and they can be located anywhere within South Dakota, Montana, or Wyoming. It's a pretty fairly simple process. They will go online. I'll show you that coming up to fill out an interest form. We then contact the producer, and if they want to go forward with it, then they'll fill out an application as long as they have a farm ID established with the Farm Service Agency. We rank their applications, and if they're accepted, then we'll do the site visits and begin carbon farm planning. And they just have to agree to implement at least one practice that will be to the NRCS standards and specs, and they'll get the same cost share rate that they would get for EQIP if they were to apply with NRCS. And then we'll continue to annually monitor them through their carbon farm plan throughout the project timeline. And then just a little bit on kind of what this carbon farm planning is we're not selling any carbon credits. It's just the like ranch planning portion of it. So we're centered on soil health and carbon. We look at their goals, and we're looking at their whole system, their whole ranch, whether or not they want to install something on one field or all the fields. So we're just going to give them different ideas of what they could do and any possibility for carbon drawdown. So they'll get a list of different practices that they could implement on their ranch, and it does calculate what their carbon drawdown would be for 20 years. So it's really a long-term plan that's just centered around what their goals are. So if anyone is interested in this, we have a website. It's called fiberpartnership.ncat.org. If they go to this website, there's a For Producers tab, and that's where they'll find the interest form. There's also a frequently asked questions page there too, that comes in to be very helpful. And then as a kind of a side note, as a little bit of an incentive, is that if producers choose to work with us, they do get a $2,000 signing incentive bonus. So $1,000 is paid up front once we receive their farm ID and information from the FSA office, and then another $1,000 at the end of the project. And there's only one of us planners for each state. This project does go through about March of 2028, and we are accepting applications on a rolling basis right now. So Montana's about full, but South Dakota has plenty of room. So we're just trying to get the word out there. So I will be the South Dakota contact, and I can drop my email and phone number in the chat for you guys. And that's all I've got for you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for her? If not, we'll roll into Ryan's update. Ryan is with Game Fish and Parks and is going to share about the State Wildlife Action Plan revision.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Ryan Wendinger here with South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. Yeah, I was asked to share about our revision of our State Wildlife Action Plan. We're currently underway with the revision, I guess. We hope to finish it up here in 2025. We're conducting a major revision that are required by the states to be completed every 10 years. So the last one was done in 2015. each section of the plan is being reviewed for potential changes and different things, I guess, being considered there, trying to update it with the current landscape and conservation challenges, things of that nature. I guess bringing it to you guys, we want to welcome you all to provide input on the plan revision. Particularly many of you I know on the call that are very passionate about healthy grasslands, as many of the species listed within the plan that's a critical habitat type for them, obviously, here in South Dakota. So directly connected to Grasslands here, and would appreciate any input you have. We're also seeking ways to find ways to improve the plan so that it's more user friendly for all of our partners and others in the state here. So there's going to be opportunities to provide feedback on that, and be able to go across state boundaries, whether it's North Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, wherever it is in our region, be able to work across state lines when and where needed with grants and things of that nature. The GFP website will host information about the updates of the revision. We're still working on getting the first segment up on the website. I'll put a link in the chat to our current state plan, and then you can go there, review if you'd like. But there'll be more information coming in the months ahead here, and opportunities on ways to start providing feedback. The first section will be reviewing the species of greatest conservation need list that we have here in South Dakota. So the opportunities there, and encourage you to check those out. Other than that, I guess I just share that this plan, obviously, it is very important for many of the wildlife species and non-game species, particular, that we struggle with here in South Dakota, and the habitats that are declining for those species. In the last 20 years, this particular funding source through the State Wildlife Grant Program has brought about $12 million into South Dakota here to do work on, whether it's research or implementing habitat-based programs. And I think it's also very important for many of you on the call here, for those who write lots of grants. It's a great resource to cite in those grant proposals, and try to beef up your grant proposals utilizing the information that's in this plan. Otherwise, I'll stand by for any questions. I'll throw the link to the state plan in the chat that the current plan is, and then yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You are welcome to have questions. We do have time built in for this. So if anyone has any thoughts, please throw them in the chat. Otherwise, Ryan, please.
Hey, Ryan, this is Ray. I was wondering, for your designation of SGCN, specifically invertebrates, are you guys using any sort of community science data like Bumblebee Atlas or iNaturalist, or are you pretty strictly sticking with like surveys from your staff?
Well, I don't know. I'm not on that particular working group. I'm sure we'd welcome information from all sources there, for those reviewing that section. I'll send you an email, and we'll connect, and I'll figure out who's going to be reviewing and working through that section. And then we can talk more and figure that out, I guess, as to what staff are currently using to develop that list.
That'd be great. Thank you.
You bet.
Any more
Thanks,
for
Laura.
Ryan? Okay, thanks, Ryan. Okay, next we have Senator Larson. If you were at the Grassland Summit on Monday, we recognize Senator Larson for her work on concurrent resolution 605, which raised awareness on grasslands. So Liz, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura. And apologies, I couldn't make it to the summit in March, but I really wanted to join. Like Laura mentioned, my name is Liz Larson. I'm the senator for District 10 here in Central and Northeast Sioux Falls. And last year, I created a Senate joint resolution on grasslands. It was called SJR 605 appropriately, and it passed both House and Senate with only one dissenting vote. So it was virtually unanimous. And the point of that resolution was two things. One, it affirmed the value of grasslands as a major part of our ecosystem, and it also affirmed and acknowledged farmers and ranchers as managers and stewards of those grasslands. And so I think we still have time, but I'll make it brief. the value of concurrent resolutions like this is not necessarily that they produce immediate action necessarily, but what they do is they're intended to educate legislators. They're intended to put value on the importance of something, and they're also intended to increase awareness about a certain issue. They can also act as an anchor for future policy work that is done in the legislature in future years, which validates the whatever that resolution might say. So last year during the session, I really wanted to do something on grasslands, and I wasn't exactly sure what, and I didn't have any specific policy ideas, and so I thought maybe I'll do a resolution, and I didn't really think too much of it, but I started going around to a lot of the folks probably on this call or the organizations they represent, like Laura and a lot of others, and I found people were really excited about that. There hasn't probably been much of an opportunity to mention the type of issues that we're talking about here in this call on the Senate floor or during session, on which is broadcast all over South Dakota. And is entered into the formal record of the state Senate. So I found a lot of people were very excited. So I moved forward with it, and I got a number of different organizations to sign on. The resolution itself it's born out of the fact that when you go across South Dakota, and I'm sure all of you can agree with this, and you talk to farmers and ranchers and folks who use the land or interested or appreciate the land, like hunters, fishermen, fisherwomen, and just folks who love the outdoors. There's one thing that everybody agrees on, no matter what your political, inklings are, and that is that the next generation of South Dakotans should be able to enjoy and use the grasslands like we are doing that today. Everybody wants that to continue for their own children and for future generations. And so this resolution is kind of born out of that idea, saying that, this is something that's very important to who we are as South Dakotans, and we do want to preserve and conserve and manage it appropriately so that future generations can enjoy it as well. So that's basically what it says. It says that we all, as South Dakotans, have a right to clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment, and that grasslands are central to that. And it also I put in kind of something for everybody in the text. It's a mention of habitat for hunting and livestock, native wildlife, pollinators, carbon sequestration in the root system of healthy water, healthy grasslands, as well as a contributor to water quality. And it gave me a great deal of pleasure to say on the Senate floor that a tablespoon of healthy grassland soil contains more biodiversity than a rainforest. So I hope that all the senators and representatives who signed on feel the same, and I hope to build on it in future years. The signatories that supported this effort, I'll read the little list here, and I apologize in advance if I'm forgetting anyone. And for any other organization who wishes to sign on, it's an open thing. There's no deadlines. You can always sign on and list your organization as a supporter of the Grasslands 605 resolution. It was South Dakota Wildlife Federation, South Dakota Waterfowl Association, Isaac Walton League, Pheasants Forever, Delta Waterfowl, South Dakota Grasslands Coalition, South Dakota Soil Health Initiative, Ducks Unlimited, Sierra Club, South Dakota Association of Conservation Districts, South Dakota Agricultural Land Trust, South Dakota Cattlemen's Association, Friends of the Big Sioux River. And if you want your organization's name added to that list, I'm happy to do so. So point being is that if anybody on this call has interesting policy ideas and ways that they would like to see policy move forward in South Dakota that can best support grasslands and regenerative agriculture that supports, either native or just properly managed grasslands, please do reach out to me. And if you'd like to get the link to where you can read the joint resolution, also email me too, and I'll put my contact information in the chat. And I really appreciate being a part of this group. It's just fascinating to see what you all are doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz. And if you want to put that in the chat, I can copy it over to the agenda for those who haven't read it yet. Certainly some momentum that we want to build on, and hopefully our program implementation team can work on that. Any questions or comments for Liz? If not, we'll go into our next update. After our final update, we'll do a quick vote on our next meeting time, and then we'll have a little bit of time for breakout group introductions. So, Carter, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alrighty. I'll let you introduce yourself while I pull up the screen.
Okay, I'm a emeritus professor from South Dakota State University, and I'm also the president of EcoSun Prairie Farms, which is a nonprofit South Dakota corporation with the goal of getting as much commercial grassland available on farms as we possibly can. Thank you for the first slide. My talk will be about Good Earth Prairie and the new prairie there. We'll start out with this. This is the relatively new $8 million visitor center at Good Earth State Park. I don't know how many of you have been there, but if you haven't been there, you better check it out. The park is located in the most populous part of our state, a few miles southeast of Sioux Falls. So 1/3 of the state's population lives within 50 miles of the park. And now there's a new prairie in town. A 100-acre grassland was planted and managed by the nonprofit South Dakota Corporation of EcoSun Prairie Farms. The prairie was opened for tourism last fall. Slide number 2. The 100 acres is comprised of 5 smaller prairies with different plant species. So different types range from 15 to 25 acres in size. So if we look at this diagram quickly, the different colors show the different prairies. They're different shapes and in different sizes. They're the categories of topics are, there's Indian grass, there's big blue stem, there's switchgrass, and there's we've got a couple other high diversity plantings, some on the mixed grass and some on the tall grass type. Also on this map, there are other features such as trails, and there's a fire break that surrounds the whole group of prairies. Next slide. I think that's number 4, maybe is number 3. There we go.
Am I missing one? Oh, there we go.
There we go, that's it. So in this prairie, Indian grass is the dominant species. And note, of course, the long, fuzzy, golden seed heads of this plant. And it's a beautiful additional plant to our prairies. And look at that beautiful stand, and look at the sky. One more slide. I think there's another slide.
Go back up to this one.
There we go. Another prairie has big blue stem as its dominant species, with Canada wild rye occupying the prairie edges, as you can see in this photograph. Next slide. These were the most energetic of the participants on the launching day last October for the prairie. So they were the finishers. They made the trip from the visitor center down to the prairies and went through and around all 5 prairies and back to the visitor center, which was a distance of about 3 miles. So they covered quite the territory. There's another beautiful sky. That was a gorgeous day to have the prairie passed off to the public. Next. Project funding was from about 15 different organizations and individuals. And these men in this picture managed the South Dakota Area Community Foundation, and they were a major source of our funding. And I think, as they and many others do, that this new prairie is an unparalleled opportunity to educate a large number of people about the value of prairie. So we are now finishing up our work there by searching for funds to install permanent trail education signage. So if you have some leads, please let me know.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. I have to admit, I'm guilty of not having been there yet, so I need to add that to my list, as well as hopefully some others on this call.
It's going to be, except for in the Black Hills, it's probably going to be our largest state park in the next few decades.
Great. Any questions for Carter? Okay, if not, thank you very much for the update.
You're welcome.
We're getting close to 2:30, so in case some have to jump off for a 2:30 call, I'm going to put up the poll right now to figure out the best date and time for our next meeting. So if you can pull up your calendar quick and look for our summer quarterly partner meeting. You can select multiple if there's multiple dates that would work for you, but when would be your preference to meet in the summer? And I'll also note, while you're filling that out, if you're willing to give an update, we'd love to hear it. As you saw today, there was quite a variety of types of updates, but really focused on making sure that those who are involved with Grasslands in South Dakota know about the different things happening around the state. And so we'd love to have you share. And while people are looking at their calendars and filling that out, is there anyone else who would like to give an update? Any event that you have coming up in South Dakota that you'd like to make sure that you get the word out or have the opportunity to address questions on? Dan, would you like to share what you have going on?
Yeah, hi, this is Dan Johnson in Yankton. I'm the co-chair of the new Southeastern Dakota Prescribed Burn Association. And we completed our first burn yesterday, about probably 12 acres or so. And it went well. We learned a lot. We've been receiving support from NRCS, not financially, but just great expertise from Dan Melhoff. Rod Voss has been helping us, and then Tom Hausman has been really instrumental. He came out to the burn and helped us. So we're looking forward to doing more. And so if anybody down in this part of South Dakota has burning needs, we're interested. We don't have much equipment yet, and I would just put out that we're looking for funding, and we'd like to submit grants for anybody that could help us acquire more equipment so we could burn larger tracts of land. But it was a good day, and I just wanted to let everybody know that we're out here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dan. And I think if we're all in the same room, we'd be giving you a round of applause for launching it this year and already having a burn. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, everybody. I didn't know if I was going to bring this up today, but I think it's appropriate. And Dan, thanks for sharing. And congratulations on the association down there. That's wonderful. Some of you, probably most of you by now, have heard that we've hit a little wrinkle in some of our fire work in South Dakota. And although it's not the primary issue for the Grassland Initiative and the partners, all things related to Grassland are at least a concern or an issue for this group. And so I just wanted to make you all aware and maybe shed a little light on the situation. So we've had to, for the time being, we've got some things internally within SDSU that we're working out with our live fire training. And so we've had to take a little bit of a hiatus this year for actually on the ground live fire on our training program. It's critically important for landowners in South Dakota to have access to live fire training. So that's one thing. I just wanted to remind you all of that. We'll work through those issues. But more importantly, last week came quite a blow to our Mid-Missouri River Prescribed Burn Association. I think I can shed a little bit of light on what is truth and what isn't, but I think it's important that everyone understand that for right now, the Mid-Missouri Prescribed Burn Association, which has been a stellar organization in South Dakota and has really worked hard over the last decade to promote safe and effective prescribed fire for primarily woody species control along the Mid-Missouri River in that Gregory, Platte, Bone Steel region. And this is public knowledge, but they've been the memorandum of understanding or the memorandum memorandum of agreement that they had with the state through Game Fish and Parks has been rescinded. We understand that it's an issue simply of state statute that does not allow the state to enter into such agreements. And this might be a little out of turn, but I don't know if Liz Larson is still on the phone, but I'd love to ask you a few questions about this offline. So we've got to understand a little bit more about this situation. But as it is, I just want to make sure that everybody, there's a lot of hyperbole flying around, and I want to just ensure everyone that organizations like Game Fish and Parks, like Department of Ag, like South Dakota Wildland Fire, absolutely support our producers and the need to really save these ranches through this tool. So this is an issue that we've got to work with on policy and statute. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Got a lot of friends in all of those organizations, and this is not something that should be elevated to attack mode by anyone. And that's not, it hasn't happened, and it won't. And I just want to kind of caution everyone to cool heads will prevail, but we may end up having a need for a statewide fire meeting here real shortly. So I just want to encourage you all to think critically about this. And it's not about fire as much as it is about the tool that we need to manage our grasslands. So thanks for that. I just wanted to give everyone an update.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate you making sure we're all aware of that. Okay, with that, we
Laura,
probably, yes, please.
This is Doris Lowing with the South Dakota Stock Growers, and we have partnered with NRCS for some educational seminars that are going to be coming up. And if you guys want to pass the word around, these are the areas in which we're going to be. Wednesday, April 24th at 4:30 at Dupree. Wednesday, May 8th at 5 p.m. at Camp Crook. Tuesday, May 14th at Gregory. And then we have one coming up in New Underwood. That'll be June 29th. That's a big fundraiser for us, and we always have a good informational program then. And our convention will be October 7th through the 9th in Rapid City. So we welcome any of you guys that are on here, and I will probably be reaching out for some ideas on some speakers. So thank you.
Thank you for that update, Doris. Do you have a link to those events? I didn't type fast enough.
I do, and I can send it to you as well, Laura, so that you have those.
And for those who are on the call today, or I guess then listening to the recording, this meeting is being recorded. I'll send out an email tomorrow. So if you think of something when you get off this call that you wanted to share with everyone, feel free to email that to me and I'll include it with the follow-up tomorrow. Okay. Any other updates? If you need to jump off at 2:30, go ahead. If you want to stay on and provide updates, you're welcome to stay on. Otherwise, it is 2:30, so we'll technically wrap up now, but I welcome anyone who has anything else to share to stay on and provide that. Okay, not hearing anything yet. Thank you everyone for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed being able to listen to what's going on in the state. I think it's really encouraging to hear and to see such a great turnout of people who want to learn about what's going on with the state in regards to the grasslands and support it. So thank you very much. As a reminder, if you're interested in being on one of those working groups, please go ahead and apply right now for that. And if it's something that you don't have the capacity for right now, even though you're excited about some of those topics, look for ways that you can share about what they're doing and support them in other ways. Thank you. Have a great Earth Day, everyone.